Hello everyone who never learns their lesson but it comes back for another go. I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths. This might seem a little bit familiar. This hull might seem familiar, the title might seem familiar, hell even the thumbnail might seem familiar. You might have seen this before. Well, I did a video some time ago on armor combinations, just specifically two, like binary armor combinations in From the Depths. I didn't do a very good job. It was a very spur-of-the-moment thing, and multiple people in my Patreon Discord and in the comment section pointed out how I was kind of wrong about a lot of things. In particular, thank you, John McFist, who pointed out my big error, and Artifexian, who also pointed out my big error, and sorry for taking 3 weeks to get around to replying to your comments. So, we're gonna do this again, but properly and with somewhat better, like, armor design and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna be giving a more fair assessment on combinations of various materials, bearing in mind that every single armor material, or structural material in general, it has a job to do, and that is the thing it does well. If you try and use materials for that job which are not suited for it, you're gonna have a bad time. Speaking from personal experience, a lot of. So, let's get to it. I have my spreadsheet, which I'm not looking at because I've already done everything that needed to be done on it. Let's get into combinations. Let's start off at the bottom here, right here. Here's all these hulls. So we're going to be actually going over the pros and cons of each one of them. Wood and stone. So, wood, famously cheap, floaty. Stone, cheap, tougher than wood, very fire resistant, very EMP resistant. Wood's also EMP resistant. So, this combination works great if you just want to make something that's kind of large, something bulky, but you also want it to be tougher than something that's just made of pure wood, because wood is basically cardboard and From the Depths. We don't like that. So, the pattern here, and I'm actually going to use the handy-dandy split thing, cut above. There we go. So this is the basic armor scheme we have here. This is not as thick as you want to get, but the general consensus in the community, from what I hear, is that your armor for a broadsider is about as thick. It's between half to the exact width of your internal space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's pretty good rule of thumb there. So, what have we got here? We've got a lot of stone, stacked stone, lots of health. We've got beam slopes for that kinetic damage reduction. Not poles, except on the underside, because anything coming at you from above or from below hits at funky angles that beam slopes don't like, and it's just lots of health in case torpedoes hit you. Bottom layer of wood for extra floaty, and because hopefully you shouldn't get hit from underneath too often. Hopefully not. And yeah, this works because stone, like metal, we'll get to that, has almost neutral buoyancy, which means it's actually not that difficult to make it float. And if you use air pumps as well, you are going to be able to get this thing to float pretty easily. In fact, this thing doesn't have any air pumps, and it's floating just fine. Admittedly, it doesn't have, like, big heavy guns or in it or anything yet. So, general rule of thumb with a hull, if you want it to have passive flotation, it should float, like, quite high in the water before you put any heavy stuff in it. And heavy stuff includes heavy armor, which is good for Citadel stuff. So this is a good combination. It's not an endgame combination. Downsides of stone and wood is that the armor is not as good as it could be. It is a lot better than wood. Literally twice as good as wood when it comes to soaking up damage. But, like, other stuff just has way more armor. So stone gets shredded by explosives. So anything built like this is very vulnerable to things like missiles in particular, like big missiles, big torpedoes will put massive holes in this. So, you know what would be a good idea to actually show this in a rudimentary way, how this goes. So, let's do 30,000 and 30,000. So that's this is about what a big chunky cramshell will do, and it makes a bit of a mess. So, it did not penetrate all the way through here, but it got pretty far. How far did that get? That got all the way through the outer layers and is almost reaching these inner layers right here. So, this is not good explosion-resistant armor, so this particular combination save it for like soaking up kinetic damage, or save it for things that need to be large, and you're gonna stack shields and stuff on top of it in order to compensate for the lack of durability in the face of explosives. So, this video might be quite long. Alright, wood and metal. So, in my previous attempt at this, I said this was one of the best armor combinations you could possibly do, and I stand by that. It's really good. It's that, reiterating, wood, cheap, floaty, EMP resistant. Metal is just your default armor block. It is nice and fire resistant. Actually, not as fire resistant as stone, funny enough. But it's the all-round durable block, and honestly, I should use it more. I'm in a bad habit at the moment of overdoing the alloy, and that is my fault, and I should take responsibility for it. So, the great thing about this is that it's like the wood and stone combination, but better in terms of durability, simply because metal has so much more armor than stone does. Metal is really explosion resistant. It's very good. Noticeable difference there. Stone, more than twice as much armor, more health, and also the same weight and the same buoyancy, which means that the exact same amount of wood that it takes to float a stone hull can float a metal hull, which means that upgrading something from stone to metal is pretty straightforward. Like, you literally just go here, use the armor refit tool, and there you go. It's easy. So, having that, you can have a cheap version of a craft, and then when you start to fight things which are bigger, or maybe have bigger, meaner weapons, like lots of frag, lots of explosions, or even things like, even things that are really upping the use of, like, particle cannons, or just energy weapons in general, you switch to metal. Although I think stone is better at soaking up laser damage than metal is, because intensity and fire and all that stuff. But if we go here to our explosion thingy, and it's like that, you'll hopefully see still a fair amount of damage, but like a lot less. Look at this. Look at this. Same armor pattern, by the way. So yeah, that didn't even, that only got through the first, how many layers is that? That got through 3 layers at most, and that's a hefty explosion. Like, let's see, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head how explodey things are. So 30,000 explosive damage, that's what it did. And that's something like what a big torpedo would do, or maybe a big missile, cram shell, something like that. So, armor should at least, if you're anticipating your craft getting hit a lot, maybe if it's just a standard ship, like this hull is basically doing, making the outside as explosion-proof as possible is a good idea. You can't discount it. HE damage is not the most dangerous thing in From the Depths, but like you can't forget about it. That's silly. Okay then, so stone, wood, metal, like reasonable cost, nice and durable, lots of health because wood is nice cheap health. Reasonably EMP resistant because like EMP has to do like funny things and take the long way around if it hits this. Again, wood underneath, ironclad style. Excuse me, I almost bit my lips off. Alright, moving right along. Alright, wood and alloy. So, I made a whole fleet of things made out of mostly wood and alloy, and I gotta say, this is like wood and metal, except a lot lighter and a more floaty. That's the main difference. It costs about the same because alloy costs the same as metal, not as explosion-proof, not as tough, not what you should be covering your cram brawler or frontsider in, but it is so light and so floaty and is cheaper and more health dense than just plain old alloy. So I'm not sure why I was so hard on myself and on this particular kind of armor. Because it actually works okay, provided you build correctly for it. This is not what you make a giant, like, battleships out of. This is not what you make frontline sluggers out of. This is the kind of thing you want a nice, fast, light, maneuverable thing that is still kind of, like, bulky enough because of the wood to take a hit or 3, but it's not meant to soak up, like, huge amounts of damage. So this actually does work. You just can't misuse it. Alloy is like that in general. It has a specific job. It does a lot of things really well, actually. It's light, it's floaty, it is reasonably EMP-proof. It is more EMP-proof than just straight metal. It is also very fire-resistant while also being flammable. So it's like, This is the thing where when in doubt, use it, but only when in doubt. If you're sure, you should be using something else. So, I like this armor scheme. Honestly, this is a good time to point out that, like, really the smart thing to do here is to cover the bits that are on the outside that are most likely to get hit with metal. Because alloy is so floaty, it's not going to care about like a single layer of metal on the outside. And that's going to be much better for soaking up torpedoes and HE shells and that kind of thing. Which, like, you want to deal with that. You don't want your craft to, like, get ripped to pieces by frag guns just because it's too soft and squishy. So, I like that armor scheme. It's good. Is expensive. More expensive pound for pound than wood versus metal for the damage it can take. That's the downside. Alright, wood and heavy armor. This still sucks. So, I had a concentrated go of making this feasible. So this is a little different. This hull is actually a little bit smaller than the ones I just showed you. So, let's go here, and cutting above is over here. So this is the scheme. I'm not a huge fan of this. This is a very... How would you describe this? I'm not sure, like, this... I'm not sure of the usefulness of this. I've never used it, seriously. But the only way to really make this work for something with passive flotation is to really go ham on the beam slopes, because full heavy armor beams are very, very heavy. That's a weight of 800, which is about the same as lead. Beams are half of that, but they still have 60 armor and 3,000 health, which is very nice. Which I believe is... yeah, still 3 times as much health as wood beams here. So, this thing somehow floats through some miracle of black magic, or just spamming lots of wood. And at the very least, a whole bunch of HE damage all in one spot is not going to ruin its day immediately. Also, I just realized, hold on a minute. Oh, UI is important. Hello? 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 Oh, my end key isn't working. Oh, now it's working. Okay. Cut that off, and I forgot to blow up the alloy hull. So, just to show you what that looks like. Check that that's the right number. So, bearing in mind what happened with the metal hull. So that's roughly the same damage. Alright then. So yeah, same thing. That got through, like, about 3 layers at most. Spread out a bit more, and yeah, that definitely made a bigger hole. So yeah, that noted, right there. Right, you get out of here, because we don't want to see you right now. This is the problem with spamming wood, is... Hello? There we go. That was the correct number, right? Alright, so you'll see that blew all the way through that wood, and exposed the heavy armor, which is why I'm not a huge fan of doing armor like this, and... okay, this thing isn't... oh, no, it is rolling. So, here's the problem with having all your floaty stuff on the outside, which is why, in the past, I'm very skeptical about spamming lots of alloy, like, on the sides of your vehicle, because if you get damaged too much, your vehicle will have a tendency to roll. You can compensate for that through, like, roll propellers, or just custom rudders set to control roll. But this is an issue, because if you lose too much flotation on one side, you'll notice not only is this rolling over now, it's sinking. So this is the big problem with just spamming lots of wood with a heavy armor core. It's not as floaty as alloy, and so it's not going to keep that afloat as well. It is still somehow above water. Somehow. This is the kind of thing that if you want to do this, and like good luck if you do, ring shields would probably work really well for that, because it'll just make that wood a little bit more resistant to HE and frag. But yeah, I would not personally recommend this. The advantage is that it's very health heavy, so against like penetrating shots, potentially you could just spam wood beams and like soak it up, but that's the only advantage it really has, I would think. Yeah, like, I wouldn't recommend just combining stuff like just, you know, going ham on just the wood and heavy armor. That's not a good idea, personally, I would say. Right, stone and alloy. I have been mucking around with this, and I've had mixed results. I believe in my first attempt at this video I said this was pretty good. It's got definite pros and cons. So, The problem with just being all willy-nilly with the stone and the alloy is that these things kind of overlap in terms of what they're good at, because alloy is very fire resistant, so is stone. They're both kind of EMP resistant. Stone, much more so than lightweight alloy. Stone is more fragile than alloy, while being a lot cheaper, so you could argue that you could, like, bulk this up, that the stone is just there, similar manner to wood, to bulking it up, so it's similar to, like, wood and alloy, but it's just kind of not as cheap and not as floaty, so this is not a super good combination. I have been mucking about with this a lot more. If you're gonna do this, you might as well use metal and alloy. I'd say metal and alloy for proper protection, or wood and alloy to be, like, cheaper. So yeah, this is, like, I'm having mixed results on this, but it's also, like, this is the kind of armor you put on something that you want to be very EMP resistant. Like, you're less worried about shells coming in and hitting you, and you're more worried about, like, you know, EMP packs or something like that. And again, like, having a mostly alloy hull, particularly on the outside, you are going to be more vulnerable to explosives than if you used metal. So again, this is the kind of thing where you'd probably want to have, like, a metal skin on the outside, just for that initial soaking up of explosive damage. Really does make a big difference. So yeah, like, this one is okay. Not great. I would, honestly, this is a gimmicky combination, a weird combination. You don't actually see this very often. I personally don't. I'm determined to make it work somehow. But honestly, the sensible thing to do would be to do the standard thing of having a heavy armor citadel around your most important bits and having metal on the outside. So yeah, okay, I guess. Alright, stone and metal. This is basically just you want durability, and you are going to rely on things other than material to float, which is always a bit of a risk. Personally, I think that your armor, if you're going to have passive flotation, you need to have it in the material itself, because it's not a matter of if your compartment gets punctured and your air pumps are rendered useless, it's a matter of when they get punctured and your air pumps are rendered useless. Air pumps are also kind of laggy, so in before Gmodism comments and says that air pumps have this problem with giant air spaces, or when you spam a lot of them, they cause hell of lag. It's basically a memory leak or something like that. It's bad, so for performance sake, you might want to skip out on the air pumps, but this is solid. So the main strength of the combination of stone and metal, let's do. I forgot to blow up the... BorderWise, you must be consistent. Let's blow this up. Let's blow this up. Let's blow this up. Why did that do less damage? What the hell? Hold on. Let's try over here. Why did that do less damage? I don't know. What's happening? Huh. Why did that... I'm confused. I'm confuzzled. Let's hit the other side. Hello? Oh, it's because of the underwater armor penetration effect. Right, okay, gotcha. So, for anyone who doesn't know, HE damage and thump gets an armor penetration bonus when it hits underwater. So if we hit our friend here like this, you'll see that number will do more damage. It didn't do more damage. What the hell? I'm confused. From the depths, why are you like this? Why are you like this? Why are you like this? Is there just more stacking on this? I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Alright, so main benefit of this is the combination of, like, great fire resistance and the EMP resistance of the stone, making up for the fact that metal is not particularly EMP resistant at all. In fact, it has zero resistance whatsoever. Actually, no, it does. It has a tiny bit of EMP damage reduction. Just a tiny bit. But yeah, the stone has a lot more, and is somehow more fire resistant than metal. So this is just generally tough. This is if you want something, like, nice and tough, nice and affordable, and you have other ways of making it, like, stay above the waterline. This would actually be pretty good submarine armor, now I think about it, because, like, alright, you don't have to float, you just swim underneath the water. You're nice and insulated from EMP just in terms of your general structure, and you've got all that metal to soak up all the HE from the torpedoes, which want to blow you up. So that, I reckon, this is a good combination. It's basically it's just cheaper than spamming pure metal. Jolly good, jolly good. What else? Stone and wait, no, we did that one. Stone and heavy armor. I spawned that in the water. That's silly. This one not so good. This one's not so good. The problem with this is obviously this is heavy as balls, especially if you've got heavy balls, and this is the point where you notice that this is flying. I've set up a rudimentary PID here to keep this hovering. You don't make ships out of something like this. If you're mostly using stone or metal and then a crap ton of heavy armor, it's not going to float naturally. You're going to need up props to keep it up out of the water if it's a ship, at which point you might as well just say screw it and use custom jets. I have said this many times before. I repeat myself a lot, so go above. So this is the scheme. This is pretty darn strong armor. So we've got this outer double layer of stone. We have this inner layer of heavy armor. And we've got this double stacked citadel. So if you're stacking beam slopes, like, it's apparently a good idea to have a double stack of beams behind them, because that's like maximum armor stack. Yeah. So this is very tough. If I tried to blow this up, hold on, let's restore it to what it's supposed to be. So, whoops, not what I wanted to do. I need my tool. Where's my tool? Where's my tool? Is my tool good? Why did that do so much damage? Alright, so that blew straight through there, but then was like, yeah, nah, stopped dead by that layer of heavy armor beam slopes right there. So, that's just explosive damage, by the way. Heavy armor takes a while to chew through unless you've got something with very high AP, or if you're using plasma. So, this is okay. I don't think this... if you're going to spend this much material on something that has like a strong heavy armor core, you might as well use metal or alloy rather than stone. The one good thing about this particular combination is stone, fireproof, and quite EMP proof. Two things which heavy armor is noticeably not particularly good at. So, heavy armor is actually very fire resistant, but it does have flammability, 25%, which stone does not. So if you're worried about like lasers or anything else that's going to set your stuff on fire, like mixing in stone between the heavy armor and the cruel outside world, that could probably do the trick. But yeah, I would say alloy or metal for stuff like this, not stone. We are already well out of the region of like cheap, nasty vehicles that you could just spam everywhere. Alright, alloy metal. This is a classic. This is just good. So this is basically like the upgraded version of the wood and metal thing. So it's like, alright, your ship is a bit heavier, it's got a bit more fun and activities on it. And so there's the armor scheme. It's basically the same as what we did before. It's about 8 meters of mixed-in beams and slopes. So nice and explosion-proof, nice and floaty, nice and light. You'll notice this is... where is the water line? This is higher in the water than the wood and metal version, of course, which is what you want. So this is just solid. This is like, honestly, if you want to make something and you're not too worried about it being expensive, this is probably what you want to go for a ship, because it's just nice and floaty, nice and tough, like solid, reliable, not the final word in armor designs, but it'll do the trick nicely, won't it? So yeah, let's explode it just for giggles. Also, reflections are funny with this. Alright, so are you going to be weird? Are you going to be weird? Are you going to be weird from the depths, or why are you going to be weird? Look at that. Took off the outer layer, and that was it. So, yeah, so... alloy is almost as tough as metal, but not quite. But when you put the two together like this, you have something that's like... suddenly the Deepwater Guard spamming high explosive shells at you is considerably less of a problem. So yeah, this is good. This is a good armor combination. Like using mostly alloy and metal, they complement each other very, very well. The metal is just the armor, and the alloy helps the metal float. a little bit of extra EMP resistance, and also the metal is like more fire resistance. So yeah, this is good. Me likey. Me likey, you probably likey too. And then we get to metal heavy armor. You will notice something here. You will notice it is flying again. So this is a very good combination if you're wanting to make the classic, at this point, From the Depths flying brick. This is very, very strong. This is the two strongest armor materials that you have put together. There is a reason why so many endgame craft do this. Does not float at all. Which means that you then get into the area of like, alright, this doesn't float, so you might as well stick custom jets on it and call it a day. So, just showing you what the actual scheme itself looks like. It looks like this, same as before. So this is very explosion-proof and very frag-proof. Just those early game cheap deep water guard things that are gonna really struggle to get through this at all. And yeah, this is just like all good round good. I have been told that mathematically, if you're just thinking about armor, nothing else, heavy armor is the most cost-effective, well, armor. Because it's just like you times the health by the armor, and of course, because heavy armor has so much more health and armor than anything else, it's just really, really tough. You probably have noticed that if you've ever tried to shoot something that's made out of mostly heavy armor. I'm looking at you, Grey Talons, and Scarlet Dawn, Deacon's Christmas, the Flying Brick. So yeah, the Flying Brick meta is essentially based around this material combination. It's just, you pack on the metal and heavy armor, and you let the sweet siren sound of the custom jet, like, carry you to victory very expensively. So let's blow this up just to show you. So yeah, that's the equivalent of a cram or like, big missile, and like, even if I hit it again in that same spot, whoop-de-frickin' do. It's like still only gotten through the outermost two layers. Hit it again. Did that do anything to that? Nope. There we go. So it takes 4 big explosions, big ones, to even get through that first layer of heavy armor beams there. So, kinetic penetrators are a different story altogether. So yeah, that is the good armor. This is great armor for thrustercraft, for airships, for things that abuse custom jets to fly. I would hesitate to use this too much on a ship, because the main advantage of a ship is that it has passive buoyancy, so it doesn't eat your war budget, holding its position in, you know, time and space. But for the flying brick, yeah, this is it. And now we get to it. The thing that I got so wrong in my first attempt at this video, alloy and heavy armor. I said this was bad, and my reasoning was not good. My reasoning was just mostly absent, really. So, the reason this is expensive armor. This is the main issue with this armor. It's very pricey. Well, it's about as pricey as combining metal and heavy armor. But bear in mind that for its cost, metal is a lot tougher than alloy. Just that 5 armor and extra health makes a big difference. Alloy is the only damn thing that you can possibly use to make a heavy armor core float. So that alone is a powerful, powerful combination. And embarrassingly, when my first attempt at this video, I forgot that one of my best recent craft uses this combination. I will show you that craft right now. Some of you might remember this from various recent campaign exploits. Where are you? Here it is. It's the Icewind. So this thing is almost entirely alloy, except around critical areas. Here it has heavy armor beams. This is why this damn thing was able to survive getting shot at so much, even though its actual armor is very, very thin. It's like, this is like, let's see here, this is around the AI compartment. This is 2 layers of alloy and a heavy armor beam. That was enough for this thing to survive lasers, railguns, like plasma cannons, and just all that stuff. Combined with the fact, though, that it flies very fast and constantly bobs up and down. That is its main defense, but when it did get hit, it could take the odd hit because of that specific armor combination, because of alloy and heavy armor. So that was a gigantic brain fart on my part, and I apologize. Also, putting red highlights on this thing looks really cool. Alright, so we should probably show off the internals of this thing. How much alloy does it take to float heavy armor? As it turns out, it takes quite a lot. So let's go above. And you'll notice we're mostly using beams in here. So we've got this one layer of heavy armor in here. Lots of alloy on the bottom, and the deck would be mostly alloy as well. Maybe heavy armor beams. Should probably replace this with beam slopes, rather. Probably make it a little bit lighter, but yeah, lots and lots of alloy. Especially this outer layer here. This is just packing on the alloy so the damn thing floats at all. And I used to be very skeptical of doing this. However, if you are spending this much materials on a thing, on a ship in particular, you better have damn good roll control, which does to a certain extent cancel out the problem you get with this thing listing over when it gets too much damage on one side. So let's do cutting off. Let's see how many shots it takes to get to the juicy innards of this thing. So, kablooey. Alright, first layer taken off. Second layer. Wow, that second layer did not do much at all. So yeah, honestly, this is good. It is expensive and quite block heavy in terms of like getting the darn thing to float. But like, it's good. I was wrong. I said this was bad. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I have stated the error of my ways. My ways were erroneous. Yeah, this particular armor scheme, like, it takes a lot of explodies to get to the good bits, so to speak. I also want to see how much it actually rolls over. This is quite a large hull, so yeah, it takes a hot minute. How do we get in there? Yeah, that final layer is going to take forever to get through because it's just straight heavy armor. I wasn't counting, but yeah, it takes a lot of explodey to get through all that. So, probably for like a battleship, something like this, maybe doing the thing I mentioned before, putting a layer of metal just on the very outside for that extra bit of torpedo explodey proofy would be a good idea. So yeah, bearing in mind this whole video we're talking about just combinations of two armor types. The sensible thing, of course, is to use each material as it actually, you know, for its intended purpose. So, brief overview, cheap, floaty, but flammable and cardboardy. Still kind of cheap, still kind of tough, very EMP resistant, very fire resistant, but still kind of squishy. All round floaty, light, wonderful stuff. But expensive as armor, simply because metal is just better armor overall. And heavy armor, heavy, but also pound for pound, just very, very, very strong indeed. And the other stuff, which just has very niche uses, which we're not going to talk about here, because if you make ships or anything else entirely out of glass, rubber, or lead, you are being silly, and you know it, so have fun with that. Who am I to tell you to stop being silly? Because I am a silly Billy. You know what would be really fun? To see if this armor scheme, or just any armor scheme really, can stand up to just max explosive. That is, I think it might be possible to get a cram cannon to do that much, but anyway. Let's see if you can shrug this off, Pally. Oh my god, it almost did! Oh boy, that was fun. Let's do that again on the other side, because it was funny. I can be silly. Whee! Now I want to make a cram cannon that does 1 million explosive damage per shot. That would be fun. I might do that after this recording. So, again, apologies for potentially misleading people. The first time I tried to make a video talking about armor combinations like this. 2, once you start introducing 3 armor... like, 3 armors into the mix, then at that point you're basically saying... At that point you're just doing playing the game as it's kind of intended, aren't you? Let's look at the Icewind because it's fun. So yeah, apologies for misinforming people. I didn't want to do that. I guess I was being silly at the wrong time. So thank you to everyone who corrected me on off-the-cuff statements that probably I should have explained myself better, or just remembered my own building experiences. That would have been nice. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps. And there's fun perks in it for you. Like at the lowest tier, access to a Patreon exclusive Discord, where you can hang out with me and other cool people and correct me when I get things wrong, because I'm only mortal and I don't know more than the FTD hive mind, because it is a hive mind. Oh no, our friend there is sinking. Oh no, that's terrible. And do check out my other channels and my Twitch, because I stream from the depths, but also other games, and also art. So yeah, come to say hi, I would love to see you. And have a wonderful day. I hope your ship does not sink like this one does, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell. You are sinking, but the question is, what are you thinking about?